It's Welcome to the Resolution.
All right, welcome to the resolution. My name is Stuart. I am here today with Jay Freeborne, one of the enrolled agents here at Washington Tax Services. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of current events, I guess, really. The US election has just happened, and taxes, tariffs were big topics on the campaign trail. And we wanted to kind of dive in a little bit and talk about the new administration and how they might be handling things. So I'm going to pass it over to Jay, and we'll discuss some of those predictions and possibilities.
Thanks, Stuart. So what's the lay of the land? We have a federal government that's massive to serve our 350 million people that live here. The annual revenues from taxes and other things is about 5 trillion a year. We have been running deficits the last couple of years. I think the current deficit 1 trillion plus. So that means 6 trillion in expenses, 5 trillion of money coming in. Taxes are the golden goose at this time. Whatever said on the campaign trail versus what reality is. The reality of governing and the campaign trail don't always link up. So I think the system of collecting income taxes is not going away. However, there have been some thoughts about tariffs perhaps replacing taxes as a source of revenue. And I think we'll see a little bit of that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of that as a concept because tariffs do not collect as much money as income taxes. And punishing tariffs, you get less money for tariffs the more you apply them because it reduces trade and the money brought in from tariffs goes down.
Yeah, one thing that I had noticed or had heard about recently is just what are tariffs is the most searched for Google search since Trump and Harris started kind of debating those topics. So sort of points to the topic at hand.
Yeah, totally. Mr. Trump certainly has an obsession with them and has given them a lot of oxygen on the campaign trail. But I think the reality of governing versus campaigning is I think he'll do it. I'm somewhat skeptical of extreme tariffs replacing taxes. They just don't bring in as much revenue. They are essentially a sales tax to us people to punish the other countries indirectly. We pay it in higher prices. Also, tariffs will promote inflation, which is essentially what this administration won the election on, I think, to many people. And they certainly don't want to increase inflation after winning elections. So anyway, I'm going to move on from the tariff topic and just talk about my prediction. I could be wrong. Just reading the tea leaves, reading Trump's policies, etc. That the income tax system will remain intact, and so that will happen. Within that system, Mr. Trump has campaigned on kind of a workers' platform, reducing Social Security tips from being taxed. I think he'll try to do that through Congress. That would be in sync with his campaign. Shouldn't reduce the taxes that much, as people that work in bars aren't that significant. But it certainly will win him points with the working class, so to speak. Social Security not being taxed. Social Security, by the way, isn't taxed unless you also have employment or other income, and that might trigger some of the Social Security. That's also a winning campaign point and should please a lot of people. So it's not a surprise that he campaigned on that. I would see them implementing that as well. And lastly, as you may recall, and by the way, 8 years ago, we had blog posts on this topic when Trump originally came into power in 2016. And we were pretty close in our analysis then. But here, 8 years later, we should also see that his bill that he passed in 2018, there was a significant tax cut for businesses, income tax, S corps, partnerships, and sole proprietors. I think they'll petition to keep that law in place. Democrats, had they gained power, would have probably tinkered with it a bit. So I think businesses will continue to get that tax cut. I guess one of the morals of the story is, Trump has never considered himself really much of a deficit buster, except at moments and rambling. We should expect higher deficits under him. It's not a top priority for him. So one would think that, yeah, reduce taxes on Social Security, on tips, and keep that 2018 law in place. So I think that's what we can expect on that front. Let's segue to collections. So last year, 2023, I think the IRS collections enforcement collected 100 billion. That's a good chunk of change. Some say that collections and audits should exist just to keep the tax system honest and keep people on their toes to be compliant. It doesn't only collect money, it's also in place to kind of make sure people do it honestly, et cetera. But the Republicans have been punishing the IRS for 14 years, since 2010, when the Republicans gained congressional power, and the IRS budget has been going down in collections.
Yeah, do we expect that to continue?
I would imagine that the Republican Congress and Trump will continue to try to punish the IRS a bit. So I think collections could go down or stay the same. I don't think they campaigned on that, so I don't know if they'll change it. 100 billion when you're looking at $1 trillion deficit is it's 10% of that. They could certainly collect more if they decide. I mean, the truth of the matter is the more you invest in the IRS, you get a pretty good return on the dollar, but that isn't the point. Their base doesn't like the IRS, and so I would expect that the IRS will continue to have their funds shortened, or they may just keep it as is. Perhaps they will increase enforcement, but I'm somewhat skeptical about that.
What do you foresee for like small business owners and their tax concerns? Any changes there?
What we recommend to clients, and we serve a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs here, continue to take advantage of the most advantageous entity status that you can. And we're a big fan of S Corps for businesses that have ongoing money coming in. That is one way, tax advantage way to reduce your Social Security and Medicare taxes, have a simpler home office deduction, and perhaps gain access to some retirement vehicles more easily than being a sole proprietor or a C corp. But I don't know. Our suggestion to anybody is stay in compliance and pay the least amount of taxes possible by consulting with an accountant or tax attorney at Washington Tax, or consultant to determine what is the best vehicle for you. Being compliant is always good, and pay the least taxes. So that's what we are stand for. The golden goose ain't going. Funds the government. Tariffs won't replace it. Tariffs will happen, I'm sure. Congress might do a trade like, okay, we'll reduce your taxes by X for these tariffs. That has been spoken about in the House Ways and Means Committee the last couple of weeks. Congress is going to be tight. Looks like it's going to be almost even with a slight edge to the Republicans. So, we'll see how it plays out. Plus, the filibuster that still exists in the Senate. But nonetheless, taxes will remain. Tariffs won't replace them. Tariffs will exist. Taxes will probably be reduced. Deficits will continue. And collections and audits will either stay the same or probably be reduced a bit because their budget will be hit. That's my assessment here, and going forward into 2025.
Cool, great. 888-282-4697 is a Washington Taxes phone number. Give us a call if you have any concerns, if you've got any letters from the IRS, anything like that. You can also, of course, reach out to us at watax.com. That's watax.com. Jay, do you have anything else for us today?
Thanks a lot, Stuart. I think we've covered this topic pretty well. If you haven't filed taxes in many years, S Corp, individual, C Corp, give us a call. We'll get you into compliance the easiest and simplest way with the least tax exposure. If you are being aggressively collected against the IRS or being audited, we're ready to take on your case and give you free advice. If you're living abroad and are a U.S. expat and are out of compliance or have some questions, we are experts in that space as well. Please call us at 888-282-4697. Visit the website, watax.com, and read and check out our other podcasts. Anyway, have good holidays, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.